Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Iona Athletics Podcast, your source for all the latest news about the Iona Gaels. I'm your host, Mike Phillips. We've got a good show for you this week. I'm going to be joined in just a bit by the head coach of the Iona baseball program. Paul Panic will be calling in just a bit to help us get ready for the baseball season, which is sneaking up on us. Before you know it, on Valentine's Day, the Gaels will be playing baseball. So we'll talk to Coach Panic in just a bit. Make sure you stay tuned till the end of our podcast for our look ahead at the upcoming week in Iona Athletics. It's going to be a busy one. Lots of basketball at Hines, so make sure you're coming out to support the teams. But let's get started with our weekly recap. Some news items from Wednesday, January 8th. Jackson Madonia was named the MAC's Men's Swimmer of the Week, so good job from Jackson Madonia. The swimming team as a whole has been outstanding this year. The MAC also announced on Wednesday that the 2019 Women's Water Polo Preseason Coaches Poll. Jordan Van Rieken was selected as the preseason All-MAC team, and the Gaels as a team were voted third among the 9 teams in the MAC, so the coaches clearly believe that the Women's Water Polo team will be a contender for the MAC title this year. One more news item from the 8th. Iona men's soccer standout defender Malcolm Moreno received eligibility for the 2020 MLS Super Draft. Only 4 players from the conference were given eligibility for this draft, so big honor for Malcolm Moreno to be eligible for the draft. Now let's get to some of the games themselves. We'll go to Friday, January 10th. The men's basketball team picked up his first MAC win of the year on the road, beating Ryder 69-66. E.J. Crawford led the Gaels with 22 points. Isaiah Washington, 17 points off the bench, so good time to get on the board for the Gaels, pick up a big win in the league. And the indoor track and field program also began its 2020 calendar year at Fordham. On the women's side, Bria Oatman picked up a third-place finish in the 200-meter race, so good job from her. On the men's side, Jerome Solis placed second in the 60-meter dash and the 200-meter dash. Nick Soldiveri placed second in the 800-meter race. And Jelani Pierre also placed second in the long jump competition. So some good results in the track and field program. Let's go to Saturday, January 11th. The swimming programs I just mentioned before have been outstanding. Did the same thing again, taking down Adelphi at Hines. They combined to win 14 of the 15 events contested, which is absolutely insane. Women's team routing 189-75. Men's team also cruising 157-47 over Adelphi there. Women's basketball picked up its second MAC win of the year on the road against Monmouth. The Gaels picked up a 36-33 win in what has become the lowest scoring game in MAC's regular season history. And in those kind of games, better to be on the winning side than the losing side. So Gaels get the victory. Monica Bearfield led Iona with 11 points. Juana Camillion had the game-sealing bucket late in the fourth quarter. So good job from the Gaels there, picking up another win. And we'll go to Sunday, January 12th. Men's basketball back at home against Niagara. Lost by a point, 70-69. Tawan Agee, though, did have a good game. Set new career highs with 17 rebounds and 7 blocks. Last time an Iona player had at least 7 blocks in the game was Isaiah Williams at Manhattan back on February 28, 2014. The last time a Gael had 17 or more defensive rebounds, just rebounds in general, was David Lowry at Rhode Island on March 17, 2015. AG also got the 9 different fouls drawn in this game, so lots of opportunities at the free throw line for them, and it's been close at home, guys. Iona's lost their last 2 MAC games by a combined 2 points. Last 2 home games by a combined 2 points, so they're very close. The breakthrough should be coming, and that is where we'll leave our recap of the week. Will it come next week? We'll find out, but our interview with Coach Paul Panic coming up right after this. All right, we are back here on the Iona Athletics podcast. Joining me on the phone this week is the head coach of the Iona baseball team. Paul Panic is on the line. Coach Panic, welcome. How are you?
Not too bad. Yourself? Trying to stay warm out here.
Try to stay warm here. I imagine you guys are trying to stay warm, trying to get in shape for the baseball season in January.
And we make it work, man. Like I tell them all the time, I don't care what you look like. Bundle up. We're going outside. Don't care.
Yeah, you can't care. You have to get ready when you're playing games in February.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Speaking of that, what's it like to actually be playing competitive baseball in February? It feels like it's much earlier. Even the big leaguers are showing up to camp.
It's just different. I mean, we've grown up in it, playing and coaching, and it just starts our guys' clock earlier, right? So we're coming back next Wednesday. We'll have 4 live weekends before we get going. So kind of similar to the big league camp, but they have a couple extra weeks, right? They have, I think, usually about 6. And we only have 4, so it kind of speeds the clock up a little bit.
Yeah, it does kind of speed up a little bit. And before we get into your schedule, which is very interesting, I did take a look at that. What drew you specifically to baseball? Why do you love this game so much?
I think it's the competition, the camaraderie. Like I'm friends with guys that I've played with, 20 years ago, and it carries with you your whole life. And then the competition side, right? It's a game where you play a lot. You play. Major leaguers play every day. We play 4 times a week. It allows you to let's say you fail. Let's say you don't have a good game. It lets you get back on the horse quick, and and that just kind of makes it more intriguing. I always liked football and basketball, but like football, you only play once a week, for example. But baseball, you're out there more often.
All right. So speaking of, you said bringing everybody together. You have an interesting task with this roster because you have a lot of returning pieces, a bunch of new guys. There's a mix here, some freshmen coming in, some transfers coming in as well. So how does a coach you have to do blend that group together, get them to play as one team?
I think that the guys, I think it happens. You have to let it happen organically, right? You can't force that. The returners have to have an open mindset, and understand that guys. That my job is to bring in the best talent year in and year out to compete for jobs. Whether somebody had a job last year, they have to understand that they have to compete. And once you kind of get past the initial there's X amount of new freshmen and a couple JUCO guys and a couple 4-year transfers, the guys molded and kind of got together, as kind of the fall progressed pretty good.
Yeah, that does make some sense. And I'll look at your schedule a little bit because for a lot of years, the Iona teams really basically just travel up and down the East Coast. But this year, the schedule is a much wider. I've seen them go outside the East Coast. There's a trip to New Mexico in February. What's it like for the guys to get to experience more of the country this go around?
And that was one of the things that when I took the job, talking with our athletic director and our sports staff, I was like, listen, I want to give these kids something different. Let's try going somewhere. Let's just try something different. And then, I was able to get the New Mexico State trip, and then, spring break trip, we go down to VCU, and then we're on the road for the entire week. And, we work our way west. We play Purdue and Illinois and play UConn, and it's going to be it's going to be a good trip. And it's something that the seniors haven't experienced. They haven't experienced a flight. They haven't experienced a full spring break trip. So, it's letting the boys experience something different.
Yeah, you mentioned that full spring break trip. You got a lot of interesting games in there. Obviously, you mentioned the VCU series. You have the game against UConn down in Virginia. Then you go to 2 Big Ten schools, Purdue and Illinois. How do you think that trip will help bring the group together, get them ready for the MAC schedule?
I think for me, it's twofold. One, the boys will be, we obviously take weekend trips up till that. But when you're on the road for 10 days together, that really, in my opinion, I've seen it, the guys really mold and gel together, and that's on the outside part of the ball. On the inside part of the game, we're going to get challenged. VCU's a top 40 club. UConn's a top, super regional team, right? And a regional team, and same thing. Purdue's Big Ten. Illinois is a top 40 club. So, we're going to come into conference play having played some very good competition. So once we get into conference play, hopefully that'll translate. The game will slow down for the guys a little bit, and we'll have good success.
Yeah, I hope you have good success. And obviously, this team, I feel like the core of this team is its pitching. So, you talk a little bit about how important the pitching is to you guys.
I mean, with most collegiate teams, pitching is what makes your team go. With Steven Hansen at the top of the rotation, we know that we're going to get 6-7 quality innings out of him, and he's going to give us a chance to win every single. It doesn't matter who we're facing that night. If it's a first round draft pick, or somebody else, we're going to have a chance. We're going to be in the game and have a chance to win. Getting Mario Ferrioli back after being out last year is huge. We got Hunter Sibley, sophomore coming back. We have a couple good freshmen, a couple good transfers, couple back end guys back. Antonio Valari, Jimmy Sharkey. Some of those guys coming back. From last year, we returned the majority of the staff, and we added a couple pieces to it.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Other thing that people may not realize who don't follow the program super close is that you're one of the few Iona programs that doesn't play directly on campus. You guys play City Park down the street in New Rochelle. So, I sort of home field advantage you guys get from that playing there.
Well, the beauty is that the dugouts are right on top of the field. It's a big park. The wind's always blowing. It's always cold. And in center field, there's a big white house to where if you have good left-handed pitching, the ball comes right out of that white house. Right, so for us, a lot of times teams come in and they're sitting there complaining. Our first baseman will be like, "Man, these guys are asking about the house," and so for us, I think it's an advantage for us because it makes them take their mind off of it. Right, they have to kind of battle with some outside elements that teams aren't normally used to.
Yeah, exactly, and you guys last year did not have a great year. You finished 9th in the MAC standings. So what do you think you guys have to improve on the most to climb in the MAC standings this year?
I think this year we need to be better offensively. And I think we've gotten better. We've added some key pieces that will plug right into the lineup to play. We returned the entire pitching staff. And we were top 4, top 5 in almost every major category. Right. So if you finish 9th, but you're top 4, top 5 in every major category on the pitching side, then that means the other side of the ball, didn't do it for you, right? So my job and my goal this summer was to bring in some really high level freshmen, and some very, very high level transfers and JUCO guys, and I think as a coaching staff we were able to do that. So now it's just going to be see how the cookie crumbles in the spring, guys. We're going to have an injury somewhere. Something's going to happen somewhere, and we're going to be faced with some adversity, and we're just going to have to be ready for that when it hits us.
And Iona Baseball opens February 14th down in Charleston. Coach, thanks for the time, and best of luck this season.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
All right, and there you have it. That's our interview with Iona head coach Paul Panic. Paul Panic, coach of the baseball team. For our full interview with Coach Panic, check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/ICGales.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. The weekend comes, my cycle hums, ready to race to you.
All right, we are back. It is time to go ahead and look at the week ahead in Iona Athletics. We'll start on Wednesday, January 15th. The Iona swimming program, home at the Hines Athletic Center, they will be taking on Pace in a non-conference matchup. Iona Swimming taking on Pace on the 15th. We'll head to Thursday, January 16th. Women's basketball home against Niagara at 7 at the Hines Athletic Center. There's going to be a lot of basketball at Hines next week, so be sure you're coming on down and check it out. Again, the women's team up first against Niagara at 7 at the Hines Athletic Center. We'll head to Friday, January 17th. The men's team home against Fairfield at Hines, 7 o'clock. Again, men's basketball home against Fairfield on Friday, January 17th at 7 p.m. at the Hines Athletic Center. Saturday, January 18th, Iona Track and Field hits the road to take on the Penn 8 Team Select down in Pennsylvania. The women's basketball team home again, so 3 straight days of basketball at the Hines Center. They'll be taking on Fairfield at 1. And the swimming program also home against Fairfield at 1 at Hines. This is senior day for the swim team. And last but not least, on Sunday, January 20th, men's basketball hits the road. They take on Marist in another MAC matchup. Again, men's basketball team on the road at Marist. And that will do it for the upcoming week in Iona Athletics. For full game time, schedules, information about the programs, anything you possibly want to know, be sure to check out our website, www.icgales.com. You can also follow us on social media. Just search for our handle at ICGales across all major social media platforms. Be sure you stay locked in for another brand new episode of the Iona Athletics podcast next week. Until then, keep fighting the good fight, Gael Nation.
Fighting the good fight.